Und es gibt jemanden, mit dem ich heute befreundet bin, der war vor einem Jahr noch Polizist und der ist jetzt Personenschützer. Der war super, super unzufrieden und ich möchte auch die Stadt jetzt nicht nennen, in der er war. Auf jeden Fall eine Stadt, wo sehr viel Kriminalität ist. Und der hat immer gesagt, hey, das ist so geisteskrank, was bei uns abläuft. Philipp, du kannst es nicht vorstellen. Wir haben einmal eine fette Regenbogenfahne in unserem Spindbrennen, wenn da nicht alle quasi ihren Schuh drauf ablegen. Also der hat mir wirklich Storys erzählt, die glaubst du so gar nicht. Ja? Also mit ihrem Transbeauftragten in der Polizei, damals bei der Impfung, alle zwangen, die müssen das alle machen. Es ist alles eine Ideologieabfrage. Also die werden intern auch immer ideologisch abgefragt, sodass sie alle schön auf Linie sind.
6 hours is good. Like you get 6 hours, it's good. That's normal for me.
There is a small fraction of 1% of the population that has a special gene that allows them to survive on about 5 hours of sleep. And most people, when I tell them this, they say, I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
You're much more likely, for example, to be struck by lightning in your lifetime, the odds of which are, I think, about 1 in 12,500, than you are to have this incredibly rare gene that means you can survive on something around 5 hours of sleep.
Really?
Yeah.
They went that way.
Okay, male or female?
Neither. They, them.
What?
That's their pronoun?
Okay, so how many were there?
Oh my God, one, you idiot. They're non-binary.
So does non-binary have a hole or a pole? We just need to clarify.
They who? Who them? Where why? Who's who? Who's who? They, them, or who?
We're having pronoun trouble again. Were they white?
No.
Were they black?
No, colour doesn't matter, you bigot.
Were they fat?
That's body shaming. Sorry.
What do they look like?
A human. That's who you're getting from me, you pig.
Okay, witness says we're looking for an angry, BO-smelling, pink-haired dog with a nose ring over.
You're saying that you discovered that you're a woman. I'm asking you how you did. That's a very fair question.
Okay.
How do you know that you're a woman?
So first of all, listening to transgender people. Things like looking at yourself in the mirror and not recognizing yourself. Feeling alone, even when you're surrounded by guys. I had great masculine role models my whole life, and yet I never felt like I belonged. I felt welcome and included.
Why does that make you a woman? In what way do you know that you belong in the same category as them?
I know because they tell me.
If most women voted and said they don't see you as a woman, would you say I'm not a woman anymore?
Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and only ladies and gentlemen it is and shall always be. I am an 18-year-old high school student and wanted to take this time to bring to your attention the current issue with biological men claiming they are women entitled to use women's spaces. There was an incident within our district that occurred recently regarding a transgender woman who really is a biological man having an altercation with a young woman at MLK High School. This man is and has been using the women's restroom and locker room. Firstly, why are we affirming the mental confusion of this boy and putting the safety of women in jeopardy by allowing mentally confused men to use the women's spaces? Of course, any male who claims he is a woman will accept it, but what about the women? What about the true girls like myself who are female down to our DNA? Why don't we ever get a say in whether or not we are comfortable with this? The truth is, we aren't. The majority of us aren't, and yet nothing has been done to protect the safety of these women. So please do something about it. Thank you.
I started hearing those ideas age 25, and it revolutionized my whole life. And here it is. You can have more than you've got because you can become more than you are. Success is something you attract by becoming an attractive person. Work harder on yourself than you do on your job. If you work hard on your job, you can make a living, which is fine. If you work hard on yourself, you can make a fortune, which is super fine.
Hi, I was just wondering, is it possible that any other humans or animals could have survived the flood that basically took over the entire Earth?
The answer to that is absolutely not. I've been asked that question many times before, and usually it comes because people don't understand how powerful Noah's flood was. The explosion of that subterranean chamber ripped around the planet at 12,000 miles per hour. It was faster than the speed of sound. If you saw it, you would hear no sound. The next thing you know, if you saw it, less than a second later, you were dead. That's how fast it was moving. It buried everything under 10,000 feet of water. What actually happened was that the continent sank, okay? If it would destroy a brachiosaurus, all right, the most powerful land animal that ever lived, 52 tons, 110,000 pounds, believe me.
You know what it is?
my number one thing. Somebody asked, do you guys know why you're single? And I'll speak for myself. I know exactly why I'm single, because I've never dated a guy that God would have approved for me. Not to say, let me clarify and say that I've actually only dated great men, good people to their core, but never somebody who's further along in their faith than I am.
Yeah.
And I know without a shadow of a doubt that the person God has for me is like so far along in their faith than I am. And I have such a desire, like a yearning to be led spiritually. I just want to sit and look up at a man talking to me about theology. And I'll be so happy. You know what I mean? And so there's always been, unfortunately, not in like an insulting way, but there's a level of respect that I'll have for the person that I'm with when that's the case. And I've never experienced that.
Der Begriff Antichrist kommt in der ganzen Bibel. In der ganzen Bibel. In der Offenbarung kein einziges Mal vor. Im Buch Daniel kein einziges Mal vor. Der Begriff Antichrist kommt in der Bibel 4 Mal vor. Du darfst dir die dunkle Seiten nicht so vorstellen mit Hörnern, sondern du musst dir das vorstellen, es erscheint wie ein Engel des Lichts. Immer. Und wir haben 2 Dinge gesagt. Der Antichrist ist erstens gegen Christus und zweitens anstelle von Christus.
Women are more likely to lose romantic interest as a relationship progresses than men. I don't think that's surprising. They're higher in trait neuroticism, so they're more likely to experience negative emotion. And then their response to sexuality is more multidimensional than men because the risks are higher.
How come one of Saturn's moons, according to scientists, has more oil and natural gas than Earth? Were there dinosaurs and planktons and forests at one point on one of Saturn's moons? Probably not. So if all hydrocarbons aren't from fossils, where are they from?
The information that is found on the largest moon on Saturn, which is called Titan,
yes,
is actually results from NASA, European Space Agency,
yes,
and then the Italian Space Agency, who built this spacecraft called Cassini. Basically the ocean liquid form of methane. Titan is in such a way that it's very cold, by the way, so it's minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yes.
Hint, hint, hint. Where's the global warming there, right? If it's full of methane there, right? That's another problem because it's far away from the sun.
They don't have borders in Europe. But when it comes to us, they say, no, you must have borders. Why? The division of of Africa is what makes them thrive. They thrive on the division of the African continent. Can you imagine the minerals of DRC combined with the minerals of South Africa and with a new currency based on the minerals? What we can do to the dollar if we become a United States of Africa with our minerals alone? We can collapse the dollar. We can collapse the strong pound that is based on gold, yet they don't have a gold mine. So why do you allow such things? There were no borders, and we must all of us unite in that call. Free movements of persons, free movements of goods will make this country flourish.
I think $1 million is a lot of money.
No, you don't.
No, I don't, actually.
The woman's been with you 6 years. She's been, as you said, incredibly loyal. You're finally going to get married. You have a child. Give her the $25 million.
Well, I guess I look at everything like a deal. I built this empire. Nobody did it for me. Not Ivana, not Marla, nobody. And because somebody marries somebody that built something huge doesn't necessarily mean because they get a divorce that they should end up getting 50% of my money.
If you were married to only one woman, would you ever say it?
Yeah, I think if I was going to get married to one woman, I'd be proud of it. I don't think there's anything wrong with loving one woman. I just do believe that the world does change. Like Trump has 3 baby mamas, Elon has 4. Like you get to a certain level of wealth and fame and life's just a little bit different. One man, one woman, family, beautiful. I respect it, I understand it. You know, when you're at a certain echelon of fame and wealth, you have 60 cars. I'm not telling everyone to have 60 cars. I understand that my reality is slightly different than others. Perhaps the better way of saying it is there are women who are prepared to share me because of my status and wealth.
This man could easily become the Speaker of the House right now, and I'm here for it.
Congressmen in Congress trying to define what a woman is.
That's right.
What is a woman? It's your mama. It sure ain't your daddy. What's a woman? Your mama. President Biden joining in on the conversation. We didn't know what a woman is. we didn't know what a woman is. A woman is your mama. That man is past 80, isn't it? You mean to tell me you past 80 and you don't know your mama and your wife? is a woman.
Where did the name Amazon come from?
Earth's biggest river, Earth's biggest selection. First name, I named it Cadabra. I called a friend and he recommended his lawyer to me. He said, I need to know what name you want the company to be for the incorporation papers. And I said, Cadabra, like abracadabra. And he said, cadaver? And I was like, okay, that's not going to work. And so like 3 months later, I changed it to Amazon.
Mr. Trump, a year ago, you told me on my radio show, the audio and the transcript are out there on YouTube, that you would release your tax returns. True. Are you going back on your
No, I'm not.
commitment?
First of all, very few people listen to your radio show. That's the good news. Let me just tell you, which happens to be true. Check out the ratings.
When a man does not feel appreciated in the area of his presence, he becomes a version of a man that he can give you and still survive. And I promise you, you will not like that version. That version of him is silent, frustrated, sharp with his words, short-tempered, non-communicative, because he has to become something that he can survive in.
He achieved one of his dreams. One of my goals that I had since I was 10 years old. And this means so much to me because when I was 10 years old, instead of having a birthday party, I told my parents I want to go to the Lamborghini dealership. Here's a picture of me when I was 10 years old next to it. Proof on my birthday. And fast forward 7 years, to be here this fast is absolutely insane. Today we're gonna go pick up the car and I'm feeling just a bunch of...
Es ist Feierabend. Ja. Einer der Mitarbeiter verlässt mit seinem schwarzen Rucksack die Tischlerei und der Security Guard an der Tür sagt, darf ich mal in den Rucksack reinschauen? Und dann sagt er, ja klar. Dann holt dieser Mitarbeiter da so ein kleines schwarzes Kästchen raus, macht es auf, also der Security-Mitarbeiter, und sieht, da ist Sägemehl drin. Und dann sagt der, Sägemehl, warum nehmen Sie Sägemehl mit nach Hause? Dann sagt der Mitarbeiter, naja, Sägemehl wird hier weggeschmissen und zu Hause kann ich es gebrauchen. So, das geht ein paar Tage nacheinander so, ja, also 3 Tage, 4 Tage, 5. Er geht immer mit seinem schwarzen Rucksack. Der Security-Mitarbeiter schaut sich das irgendwie an. Es ist immer Sägemehl drin. Am letzten Tag, am Freitag, sagt der Security-Guard, sag mal, nimm's mir nicht übel, aber irgendwie habe ich das Gefühl, hier stimmt was nicht. Du klaust was. Und dann sagt er, und ich verspreche dir, wenn du mir sagst, was es ist, ich werde dich nicht verpfeifen. Dann sagt der Mitarbeiter, ich klaue schwarze Rucksäcke.
Er geht mit seinen Kindern dahin und dann nehmen die einen riesigen Wagen und er sagt seinen Kindern, ihr sucht euch aus, was ihr wollt. Ne? Nehmt es einfach, ihr kriegt es von mir. Und dann suchen die sich, was weiß ich, ihre riesige Nerf Gun aus und was sie halt so wollen, irgendwelche Superhelden und bla bla bla, suchen sich alles aus. So, und dann gibt er das denn nicht aber einfach so, sondern dann sagt er, alles klar, dieses riesige Lego-Ding, das ihr da wollt, das ist 25 Bücher wert. Ja? Und dann wird das auf so einen Schrank gestellt, unten drunter hat er 25 Bücher und diese 25 Bücher müssen von den Kindern gelesen werden und sie müssen ihm davon erzählen, wenn sie ein Buch fertig gemacht haben. Wenn sie das erreicht haben, dann kriegen sie dieses Spielzeug. Das heißt, dieses Kind hämmert sich so krass Wissen rein, dann werden sie das Ganze auch viel mehr wertschätzen, weil sie haben wirklich viel Zeit dafür investiert.
Heute wollen wir uns 4 Gründe anschauen, warum Jesus von den Juden abgelehnt wurde. Im Tanach, das ist die Bezeichnung für die hebräische Bibel, wird über die erste und zweite Ankunft des Messias gesprochen. Die Details der ersten Ankunft des Messias haben wir im letzten Teil sehr genau studiert.
Stocks are safe for the long run and they're very unsafe for tomorrow. Berkshire 3 times since I took over has gone down roughly 50%. Did I feel poor then? No, not at all. I knew it was going to be worth more over time. American business is going to be worth more over time. That's what you're buying as a business. You're not buying a stock. You're buying a piece of a whole bunch of businesses. Are those businesses going to be worth more 10 or 20 or 30 years from now? Of course they are. But if you think you can jump in and out, or that you know the time to come in, I think you're making a mistake.
What's in your wallet right now?
I'd say about probably $400 or $500.
$400 or $500
Something like that,
in
yeah.
cash?
Yeah.
Is that what you're always carrying?
I generally carry something like that.
In 20s or 50s or hundreds?
Well, I've got a few hundred.
I want to see. Let's see.
You want to see? Okay,
yes,
sure.
I do.
Yeah, well, most women do. You're not unusual. What have I got? I've got 5 100s.
5 100s.
Yeah, and then some.
All right, a 10, a couple ones, a 5. You're ready to tip and you're ready to dine out and have a big night out on the town tonight.
Yeah, this is pretty standard.
Unternehmer bist du nicht, wenn du eine Schreinerfirma hast mit einem Angestellten oder 2 oder 3. Ja, da bist du kein Unternehmer. Ein Unternehmer bist du dann, wenn du nicht mehr gezwungen bist, im Unternehmen aktiv zu arbeiten, sondern theoretisch nur noch am Unternehmen arbeiten müsstest. Dieses Unternehmen also auch ohne dich läuft. Wenn ich mich jetzt 2 Wochen auf meine Couch hocke, dann würde meine Firma trotzdem laufen und die Einnahmen würden weiterkommen.
Aren't you afraid to have children in a broken world? No, but I do fear a broken world raising my children, and hope that my children can help fix a broken world.
So we're back in the hotel room. It's, I don't know, probably around 10 o'clock at night. We were there for almost 5 hours in the Kremlin, which is quite an experience if you've read about the Kremlin your whole life, as I have. Not that different from the old executive office building, this giant pile, 19th century. Putin was a couple hours late, as is his habit, apparently. Everyone who works for him is laughing at, well, he's always late. You know, I'm not exactly sure what I thought of the interview. It just happened. It's probably going to take me a year to really decide what that was. But a couple of quick perceptions. One, Putin is not someone who does a lot of interviews. Well, really any interviews. He hasn't done an interview in almost 4 years. He's not good at explaining himself, I didn't think. He's smart. There's no question about that. But he's clearly spending a lot of time in a world where he doesn't have to explain himself.
Meanwhile, over in the state of New York, Donald Trump was just ordered to pay $350 million for the crime of taking loans from banks for real estate deals and paying back those loans. No actual fraud here. He paid back the loans. These are huge banks, some of the biggest banks in the world. They were happy with the terms, but the state of New York is not happy. Kevin O'Leary trying to explain to a CNN host what this actually means. Watch this.
Excuse me, what fraud? This is not about Trump anymore. When you get a developer that builds a building and he says it's worth $400 million and he wants to borrow $200 million from a bank, which happens every day, everywhere on earth, including every American city. Every developer is an entrepreneur. They shine the light on their building and they say it's worth 400. The bank does its own due diligence, as was done in this case. The banks are very good and they say, no, it's worth 300. That haggling has gone on for decades. That's how it works. In this case, even, the bank that was supposedly defrauded testified and said, we didn't lose anything. We want to do business with this guy again. We'd like to, but the judge said no.
Listen to this epic rant by Tucker Carlson about Donald Trump.
Make America great again means return it to a period not so long ago when everyone was enfranchised and everyone had rights, but everyone was roughly, not everyone, but most people were sort of united in a sense of common purpose and culture. They were Americans and they knew what that meant. We don't have that anymore. And that's Trump's vision. So you may not think that's possible. You may not think maybe that's even virtuous to want that. But if you think that's a grotesque hellscape that he's describing, you're the freak, not him.
It seems pretty clearly obvious that corruption protects their own. And look at them attack Trump. It convinced me Trump was a good guy when all of the corrupt bad guys decided to attack him.
So how do you run the company with only 20% of the staff?
It turns out you don't need that many people to run Twitter.
But 80%? That's a lot.
Yes. If you're not trying to run some sort of glorified activist organization and you're not care that much about censorship, then you can really let go of a lot of people, it turns out.
Not a single kid was sniffed that day.
Thank you. Is this your family?
This is.
Nice looking family, huh?
Say hi.
Beautiful.
Can they stand next to you real fast?
Come on, let's go. Get over here. Look at that.
Thank you.
Thank you, darling. You take care.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
I want to get paid the same as a man, and I think you understand that. So, if you become president, will a woman make the same as a man, and do I get to choose what I do with my body?
You're going to make the same if you do as good a job. You're going to make the same if you do as good a job, and I happen to be pro-life. Okay, I'm pro-life. Look at what's happening in Germany. A catastrophe. I have friends from Germany that for 20 years have been telling me how great Germany is, what a great place to live. Some of these people are leaving the country now. Their crime rate is through the roof. Things are happening that are horrendous, and you see what's happening to women. But if Germany had it to do again, I'm sure they would have put up billions of dollars to do just as I said. Safe zones in Syria, make them nice. anything's cheaper and anything's better than what's going on now in Germany.
Would you continue to give Ukraine money and weapons if you're elected? What's the answer?
If I'm president, I will have that war settled in one day, 24 hours. It'll be absolutely
Do you want
over.
Ukraine to win this war?
I don't think in terms of winning and losing. I think in terms of getting it settled so we stop killing all these people.
Can I just follow up on that because that's a really important
Excuse me,
statement
let me
that
just
you just
follow
made
up.
there. Can you say if you want Ukraine or Russia to win this war?
I want everybody to stop dying. They're dying. Russians and Ukrainians. I want them to stop dying. So Putin came out and he said, I'd much rather have Biden be president. I said, well, that's insulting. And then I said, wait a minute, that's actually a very good thing. I think I'll mention it tonight at the speech in front of the people of South Carolina. The war, that's a war. That's, I think everyone agrees. A lot of Democrats agree. They say, well, I agree that would never happen. But that's a war that never would have happened if I was president. Under the Trump administration, we will return to peace through strength.
There was a time when I was in prison and my lawyers had spoken to Andrew on the phone. I famously didn't make a single phone call. There was a conversation with my lawyers about, well, this isn't really about Tristan. He's in jail for being your brother. What we're going to do is we're going to push for a release of Tristan and then we'll push for your release later. And when I heard that, I was furious. And I did want to get out of jail. But I said to the officer in charge, I said, look, I like you and you're my favorite police officer. So if they try to take me out of here without Andrew, you're the one I'm going to punch. I'm going to punch you and get assaulting a police officer and get thrown back in here. I'm not going to hit you that hard, but I'm warning you in advance because I like you. So good luck taking me out of jail.
How much should your net worth be to escape the matrix?
It's not about net worth, it's about income. There are some people worth more money than me and Andrew, $3, $4, $5 billion, who have less spending money than me because I have an income. Every month I make a certain amount of money. And I would say you need to be making, to be able to say what you want, to not fear cancellation, to not fear other people, $100,000 a month. Andrew dresses like an Albanian drug dealer and I dress like a Colombian drug dealer. Andrew will never wear a shirt with a collar or tie. When Andrew walks into a room, people take him extremely seriously. If he wore a baggy t-shirt and shorts and Crocs, people wouldn't.
Tristan, Andrew genuinely needs to stop buying watches. Why? We've been here and he buys a watch every single day. No, but they're like super diamond, emerald, super watches. They're like your watches. But like a million of them in different shapes and sizes. No, no one needs more watches. Tristan, it's actually stupid. We shouldn't be doing this.
It is very stupid that I only have 2 watches.
What? No, Tristan.
It's stupid. You're right. This is so stupid. He keeps buying ridiculous diamond watches. I only have 2.
No, Tristan, no. Tristan, this is bullshit, Tristan. Tristan, I know where we are, Tristan. Tristan, I've been here a million times.
I will get your watch out, but yeah, you know what it is, or not? I know, I see how I can.
Aber ich bitte Sie, meine Rede unzensiert wiederzugeben. Können Sie das tun? Haben Sie die Macht, etwas ohne Ausschneiden wiederzugeben? Ja. In Europa befinden sich taktische Atomwaffen der Vereinigten Staaten. Das sollten wir nicht vergessen. Was bedeutet das? Habt ihr Deutschland besetzt? Oder habt ihr die Besatzung Deutschlands nach dem Zweiten Weltkrieg nicht aufgegeben, sondern nur die Besatzungstruppen in NATO-Truppen umgewandelt? Man kann das auch so sehen.
Do you think a trans woman is a woman?
No.
Why not?
Because I think that women are capable, generally speaking, of having babies, and they have female genitalia, and they have an XX chromosome. And
the CEO of TikTok testified in front of Congress today, and I don't think I've ever been more embarrassed that these people are lawmakers.
You damn well know that you cannot protect the data and security of this committee or the 150 million users of your app. And with that, I yield back.
Can I respond, Chair?
No, we're going to move on.
They're not there because they want to have a discussion and understand the situation. They're there because they want to get their quote-unquote 15 minutes of fame.
the most bitter people are the smart people who aren't successful because they feel that their shining light wasn't given due course and that the world should fall at their feet and didn't.
Those are dislikable people.
Oh, unbelievable. That's comic book guy on The Simpsons. Like they nailed it with him. He is smart, but that's not enough. You can go very spectacularly wrong if you're smart. And it's pride that does that. That's why lesbian relationships don't last. About 70-75% of divorces are initiated by women. And the simplest explanation for that is that on average, the most unhappy person in the relationship is going to be the woman. Well, why? Well, because on average, she has higher levels of negative emotion. That doesn't necessarily mean that negative emotion doesn't reflect problems in the relationship.
Yeah.
But she's going to be more sensitive to that. Well, so if you put two women together, well, what do you think happens?
Why exist? I read the religious texts. I read the philosophy books. That, well, especially the German philosophy books, made me quite depressed, frankly. One should not read Schopenhauer and Nietzsche as a teenager. But then I read Douglas Adams' Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is a book on philosophy in the form of humor. And the point that Adams was making there was that we don't actually know what questions to ask. That's why he said that, the answer is 42. Like, basically, Earth's a giant computer, and it came up with the answer 42. But then to actually figure out what the question is, that's the actual hard part.
The first time I ever went to go and see Peterson talk live, he got asked this question, and this person said, "The depth of my consciousness causes me to suffer. Is it a blessing or a curse to feel everything so very deeply?" And I was like, fucking give that person a podcast. Like, whoever asked that question. It's a phenomenal question. And Peterson thought for a moment, and he said, "The only way out is through. You take more of the thing that poisons you until you turn it into a tonic that girdles the world around you." And I was like, that's fucking awesome.
You would say that.
Yeah, it was like apocalyptic piece of life advice.
Her job is to make you happy. Her job is to make herself look good. Her job is to work out for your benefit. Blah, 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 blah. It is actually just misogyny.
Do you think a woman looking good has no benefit at all to her?
Of course it does.
Okay, so it's not for my benefit then, is it? I think a man should provide for a woman financially, completely and utterly. If she wants to work, if my partner were to say to me right now, I really feel like getting a job that would make me happy, then I'll say work. But she doesn't have to. Her job is looking after the children, looking after me, and being as happy as possible. I am a man, my life is stressful, my life is pain. I go to jail, I suffer, I have to deal with making money. I have constant endless headache. I do all of that so I can give you everything, but then I get to have you. Your job is to be here. I want you to smile. I want you to look your best and feel your best all of the time. Now, I go through so much pain so that we can be financially secure. So I hope the woman I care about does not have to work a job. If that makes me a bad person, then so be it. Because all I'm saying is I want to take care of her in every single realm. I take care of her physical safety. I take care of her financial security. That is my job as a man.
Here's the question that changed my marriage. How do me and my wife want our home to feel like when we walk in the front door? For her, here's a couple of things that she asked me to do through tears. We live way out in the country. She said, when you get home before me and it's dark, will you turn the porch lights on so I can see it? We have like a mile-long driveway, or a quarter-mile-long driveway. Can you turn the porch lights on? It makes me feel like the home is our house is welcoming me home. Will you clean up all these piles everywhere? Because I walk home and there's piles everywhere, and I inhale real sharply versus exhaling and dropping my shoulders. Now a clean house isn't a mom scolding a little boy. For me, a clean house is me telling my wife, I love you.
What? Oh, you all think smoking kills? Let me tell you something. Do you know that the amount of people dying from diabetes are 3 times as many people dying from smoking? Yet if I pulled a Snicker bar, nobody will say anything. Do you know that the leading cause of lung cancer is not actually a cigarette? It's your DNA. You could smoke for years and nothing will ever happen to you. This whole war against smoking is just to restrict the farming of tobacco. I use these arguments, even though I just made them up, with a group of my friends. And the results, 5 of them believed what I said. 2 of them started smoking. Words, when said and articulated in the right way, can change someone's mind.
Elon Musk asks this one specific question when hiring new staff. Can you guess it? Here it comes. You're standing on the surface of the earth. You walk 1 mile south, 1 mile west, and 1 mile north. You end up exactly where you started. Where were you? When Elon Musk poses this brain teaser to his candidates, he's looking for more than just their scientific knowledge and logical thinking. He wants to see how quickly they can process new information.